Welcome back, everyone. Today is pork belly day. Pork belly would have to be one of my favorite cuts of meat. It's the ultra comfort food. I've had it 100 different ways. Today I'm going to show you my absolute favorite way that I make pork belly. It's going to be pork belly with orange glaze. I'm Rick Michelle. This is You Can Cook. You don't really want to miss this one. Okay, now apart from probably a lot of ingredients, this is actually very simple. Most of the time is spent in the oven. We cook this for approximately 4 hours, 2 hours covered and 2 hours uncovered. Before I get into all these ingredients, I want to juice all these oranges and some of these mandarins that I've got. And with the magic of snapping my finger, I can do all this in about 1 second. Ta-da! Okay, it took a little bit longer than that, but you get the idea. Okay, now let's go over the ingredients. It looks like a lot, but this really is simple, guys. For the base of my tray that I'm actually going to put the pork in, I've got some sliced carrots, and they're not even peeled. You can still see the ends on there. It doesn't matter. We're not going to use this as a gravy. We're just using all this as a flavoring to help flavor our stock. I've also got some celery. I've got the top bits or the stalks that you might get when you get that fennel bulb. Okay, it's only because I had this. And I've got an onion. And look, you don't even really need that. It's just what I do. And I'm going to put this in the bottom of my pan. All this in the bottom of my pan. You see, so far, nothing difficult about that. Now with pork belly, you've got from the side to the underside of the pork belly. And can you see that? It gets a bit thin on one side. And I've actually cut the ends off. They're a little bit too long. You see how it gets a bit thinner? Okay, so with the thin side, what I do, well, before I actually do that, I forgot, I've got some Chinese 5-spice, and I just rub that on the pork, not on the top. Don't put it on the top. It's kind of like I guess a spice rub. And if you've got the time, because I forgot, the night before you would do this, so it kind of marinates, and you would put both of these, you'd put your pork belly, excuse me, as I was saying, you would put your pork belly on that you have on your plate in the fridge overnight and leave that skin exposed. The drier that skin is, the more crackle, or the better the crackle is going to be, the easier it's going to be to accomplish that crackle. Okay, now because I was telling you about how one side is skinny, make sure that the skinny side is the same level as everything else. And sometimes if it's dragging down or being pushed down a little bit, I just put some bits and pieces more vegetables to bring it up a little bit. So what we want to do after that is, because I didn't get the luxury of having this in the fridge all night, I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of oil on the top, and this really is just to get the salt to stick to the top of my pork. And I know some people say, don't put more oil on fat. Look, I've tried 100 different ways on trying to get good crackle. And this is how I found the best way. And it's lots and lots of salt. You know how you would probably sprinkle a little bit of salt over whatever meal you might be having? Okay, well, it's that times 10 or 20. It's a lot of salt. And that salt just pulls out the moisture. And surprisingly, it doesn't really taste that salty, which you might think, oh, it's got just too much salt. It's not too much salt. Do your own experiments. You'll see. And as everybody says, you want to get it into those little cuts you've made into the skin. Okay, so We want to put enough moisture in there. This will also go down a little bit, so bear in mind because I've used those vegetables, but not much. So we want to put in our liquid, which is our orange juice, but we do not want to cover the skin. And if for some reason you don't have enough oranges, that kind of liquid, we'll just put in some white wine or some chicken broth or even just water. It'll still work, guys. I've got more left over, but I'm going to make the glaze out of that. I've got some Shaoxing wine, Chinese cooking wine. And I'm going to put a little bit of soy sauce in there. You think, oh, more salt, more salt. But the salt that we put on there is only on the skin. The rest of the 5 spice is going to go in there. I probably should have mixed that in with the orange juice. It would make it a little easier. And the same with the sugar. I've got about 2 tablespoons, well, a tablespoon and a half of brown sugar. You can use white sugar. I've got star anise. I'm going to probably put 3 or 4 of those in. And it's all just to bring about a really nice Asian flavor to your pork. And I'm going to put a piece of cinnamon bark in there. Break it up. We cover that with some foil. This goes into a preheated oven, about 150 for 2 hours covered. You might want to check it halfway through. I normally don't. I normally, after the end of 2 hours, when I take this off, I check it and I top up the liquid. And then from that point, we cook it 2 more hours with the top off, and that's when we start getting our crackle. I will see you in about 4 hours' time. Okay, it's been just over 2 hours, so we're going to take the top off. We're going to see if we need any more fluid. We don't need any more moisture of any kind. By looking at it, you think, oh, it doesn't look too appetizing, but it's because it's been covered. So the next 2 hours is really going to turn this crackle into just that, crackle. So back in the oven for another 2 hours. I'll see you, well, in 2 hours. Okay, all up, about 5 hours. Now this is a kind of a dish that really lends itself to mashed potatoes, at least for us it does. And in this regard, I've done something, again, I've experimented like I usually do. I took some of the roasted fennel and I pureed it and mixed it with mashed potatoes. So I haven't even tasted it yet, so I'm looking forward to that. So give that a go. From that point onwards, make that dish yours. You can put any kind of ingredients when you're actually roasting that in that. You can put all different kinds of things in there to flavor that up. Your imagination is your only shortcoming. So just experiment, try that. You can't really screw a dish like that up, no matter what you do. Even if you only use salt and pepper and water as the moisture, it's still going to be absolutely divine. If you want to use that glaze that I made, you can find that right here. Other than that, if you want to subscribe, if you haven't already, right here where my face is, I'm Rick Bushell. This is You Can Cook Because You Can Cook. See you guys later.